I accidentally got drunk for the first time in the psych ward.
You're literally the craziest person I've ever known.
Yay!
Welcome to The Recovery Idiot. Please like and subscribe and visit therecoveryidiot.com. Please follow us on social media so it feels like we have friends. The following contains explicit language and situations that some might find unsettling. Viewer discretion is advised. Like for realsies.
It would be so awesome if I knew what I was doing. But no.
Well, you do to an extent. It's still a learning process.
That's the thing, though. If I knew what I was doing, I could probably be good at it.
Well, I think you are good at it.
Well, that's because you don't know any better.
That's true.
I mean, the things I think I'm good at, I guess the things I am good at, I don't fucking know. I give up. I'm so fucking retarded. So anyway, start off with this. Here we go. We're going to share a screen.
You know they sick and ladies, it's the recovery ladies. Don't go dating or banging, cause every one of them's crazy. You will start off having fun until you're both on a run. Pregnancy or NOD, rehabilitations are dumb. Some are sicker than others, usually garbage can mothers. You'll hide under your covers, you've been warned you will suffer. Don't forget what I said, if the hair color's red, she will put you in prison, or you'll wish you were dead. You know they sick and ladies, it's the recovery ladies. Don't go dating or banging, cause every one of them's crazy.
You will start up having fun until you're both on a run. Pregnancy or no, rehab relationships are dumb. Yes, they certainly fucking are. And that was going to be the point. That was Recovery Ladies by The Recovery Idiot. It's all about how crazy the women in recovery are. And you are officially the first recovery lady. Everybody in my life has heard of the redhead. In some circles, she was known as the Woods Girl.
Popcorn girl.
Popcorn Girl. That none of those people are around anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, you have several aliases and are known in several circles. But who are you actually?
Well, I'm Sarah and I'm an alcoholic. I started drinking at a very early age, just like everybody else in recovery.
You weren't the first person I met at Artesian, but we go way back, 2019.
Yes.
That is insane. And one of the reasons why I scream and yell about people not getting into relationships is because I did it. And
yes, we did it.
okay, yeah, you were part of it. I didn't force you. But at the beginning, there was definitely unbelievable fun times, but it was also followed by some of the worst times that I ever experienced. And somehow, because we're both probably the same level of crazy, we're both still around. And to this date, one of us has not successfully took the life of the other one.
That is true.
Although it's come close. I had just got out of jail. I didn't know what a halfway house was. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I had a plan for getting out of jail, but it involved a fire and laying on train track. So instead, I took some advice and went to Artesian. And when I got there, you were already there. And how did you get to this wonderful, should we not say the name Artesian?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter at this point. You've already said it enough times. You can just beep.
No, I don't want to beep it. I think nobody there is going to complain. And me and
no,
Brian,
I really don't think they will.
Me and Brian have talked about it enough. So this lovely halfway house on
Evergreen.
Evergreen. I was thinking green something, but it's Evergreen. So you got to the halfway house first. How did you get there?
Well, it's a long story, but to sum it up, I started in Massachusetts. I was in a detox facility. I AMA'd, but they wouldn't let me. They had to what they call section me because that's what basically a Baker Act is. I get let out, and then I decided that I was not happy with myself and my life, and I wanted to take it. So I got a hotel room and decided to tell some people what my plans were. Obviously, the cops were looking for me. And I left my phone when I went to go get stuff. I left my phone in the hotel room because I didn't want to be tracked. They had come to the hotel room and actually I had turned my phone off. They turned it on. And when I got back, my phone was on and I thought that was weird. But anyway, so the cops finally come to the hotel. They section me, which is basically a Baker Act. And I was in a psych ward for 3 weeks and I had no money. I had had no place to live. The only option for me was to move down with my mom in Florida. So that's what happened. I moved down to Florida in July. Well, I went down to North Carolina and then down to Florida in July and August of 2019. When I got back to Florida, I immediately started drinking again at my mom's house and hiding it pretty well, I might add. Anyway, I found the key to her room because they had locked their room up. I found some pills and I found some muscle relaxers and I drank while taking them. And I fell on the kitchen floor and broke 3 toes. The next day, they were gone for the day and I had the house to myself, and I again knew she had a gun and decided to go get it and shoot it into the pool. I told somebody that I had this gun at the time, and they told my family, and there I get placed into Marchman Act. And I was Marchman Acted on August 8th, I believe, not even a week after I had been back. So I was sent to a hospital, detox, dual diagnosis type of place.
The Nut House.
The Nut House, yes. I was there for about 30 days. And after that, I had no choice. I had no place to go other than a halfway house. And because I was Marchman Acted, I was required to continue my journey there because the Marchman lasted 6 months and I was only 30 days into it. So I had to go to our team.
So explain exactly what the Marchman thing is, Marchman Act or whatever it's called.
Well, Marchman Act is basically mandated 2 family members get a court order for you to go to some facility or into treatment for a certain amount of time, and you have to follow that or you go to jail. And the minimum jail sentence for that is 6 months.
You know,
So I wasn't going to go to jail.
Again, because you've been there before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's especially in Florida.
So I am aware of how crazy you are, and I tell people how crazy you are, but it's different when you hear it again and realize, like, I heard this story in November of 2019, and I was like, yeah, this girl's the one.
What were you thinking?
Well, that's the whole thing I tell people about, you know, meeting people in recovery or halfway houses. Like, I'm fresh out of jail. I don't have a license. I don't really have a job because I'm working day labor. Can't shave like I want to. My hair's all messed up because I'm not shaving my head every day because I live in a halfway
You had
house.
no teeth.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
You had a seizure and you chipped your front tooth.
Yes, the other one was already chipped.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, 2 steps above homeless. And you were like, well, this is a great idea. He needs to meet my parent. Like, that
Yeah.
just shows the insanity of it, the choices people make. And don't get me wrong, we were both kind of rock bottomish, so it worked out. This is why the last priority should be is a relationship new in recovery, because
I think it's a distraction. You know, people, when I first got there to Artesian, I was like gung-ho not getting into a relationship. Like, you kind of just, I was gung-ho. I was like, no, I'm not getting into a relationship with anybody. I'm not going to look after guys. And that's basically what I did until you came around.
Yeah, because I'm just irresistible. And women were lined up around
Well,
the corner.
it was the word thing. That's what got me.
The word
shoes, wearing the women's shoes and making me laugh. And when you were making up words on that
Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
Yes, I am a creative gentleman for
Very
2 steps
creative.
above homeless. But some people don't understand that I was wearing women's shoes because that sounds odd. And I wish our good friend Roy was around, because what happened was I got out of jail and I had nothing. I had a recovery Bible and a couple items from jail, like soap and deodorant. My sister, who had always kind of looked out for me when I was in trouble, she Amazoned some clothes to Artesian for me to wear, and they totally did not fit, but that's okay. It didn't matter because I wore anything I could get my hands on. And Artesian had like a leftover clothes pile, and I wore those pants for a while that I got there, like the same pair, because I had nothing else. And they gave me vouchers to go to this, what would you call it? A thrift store? I wouldn't say
Thrift
a homeless
store.
shelter. And you could
No,
get
it was
free
a thrift
shoes.
store.
And I had this like voucher for free shoes. And when I got there, the only thing that would fit were these women's New Balance for, how do you say it politically correct? A very special woman. Like, She was huge. She was a monster because they were big enough to fit me, but they were clearly women's New Balance and they were black. It was hard to tell. That was how low I was at that point. You know, getting free stuff from thrift stores, the places they send homeless people to. But when life got better and I was at a meeting one day and we were at the house meeting and I was explaining how life is different now. I just don't care. And I said, I'm wearing women's shoes and I don't care who knows about it. And here we are 5 years later, people still talking about the women's shoes.
It was hard to get rid of those.
Well, luckily I was able to go to work and make money and eventually buy non-women's shoes. But I did keep those around for a while. I didn't wear them to work, but I wore them till they fell
You
apart.
kept them around for a long time because they had sentimental value.
Yes, I was going to dip them in bronze and hang them in the recovery heat offices. Speaking of which, there's a lovely shirt you're wearing.
Oh, thank you. You like it?
What does that say?
It says, support your local recovery idiot.
That's amazing.
I know. Isn't it awesome?
A lot like this right here.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
I wish there was a place people could find them.
I know. I wonder where.
Well, it's on my board. It's on my dry erase board in the office, and it is in the process of happening. So if anybody wants to have their own, it'll be possible soon. So this insane story of the Marchman Act and the gun in the pool and all this stuff. This wasn't your first rodeo in the nut house.
No.
And it's interesting because you're one of the few people I know that, you know, some guys, they get institutionalized. They don't mind going to jail. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You kind of don't mind going to the nut house.
Oh, it's like a nice break. You don't have to really, I mean, you get your meds, you get food, you get to smoke. Like it's, you know.
You make it sound awesome because I would love a break from my life for a couple weeks. And being medicated, you know, I might come out a better person. But
that's very true.
This wasn't your first rodeo, and there's a specific time I remember that led you to.
The first time I got drunk, I was, I believe, 12 and a half or 13 years old. I might have been 13 and a half, doesn't matter. And I was in a psych ward.
Already. 12.
This was my second time already in the psych ward, and I was there for 6 months. And the first couple of months I would try to eat things that maybe.
You sounded like a robot for a second.
Okay, is it done?
Yes, it sounds better.
Okay.
If you were in there for 6 months, and while you were in there,
I would like eat Noxzema, and I would eat things to try to like make myself sick. So I was like really horrible attention seeker.
I mean, were you doing it to hurt yourself?
Yes.
Or just for attention?
No, I was doing it to hurt myself. And one night I started drinking hairspray, and I was just like taking shots of hairspray, not thinking that, I'm not realizing it had alcohol.
Aquanet that you sprayed?
It wasn't, it was like the squirt, the one that you could take the top off and you could drink it. So they don't allow that anymore. I accidentally got drunk for the first time in the psych ward. I was brushing my hair, and all of a sudden I felt really kind of droopy. And I was like, I'm brushing my hair. And it was just, I got drunk. And then they found out that what I had been doing, and they put me in what they call the safe room. And that's where it's called the quiet room. It's where only one person can be in there. And usually you're in there if you're like in restraints or something. I went in there, and they were all the staff was around me, and I grabbed one of the orderlies' package. It was right in front of my face because I was lying on the bed, and they were all standing like around me, and I was just, stop, Lola. And
Lola is the dog. She's not talking to an invisible person. She is crazy.
No, not that crazy.
She's not that crazy. So you grabbed it.
I grabbed it, and they knew I was drunk at that point because they knew I was drinking hairspray. But this was completely unintentional drinking.
Yeah, I pride myself on how crazy the recovery idiot ladies are. There's been a woman who lived in a tent for many years. There's one that lost her car because she was so high and stole a doorknob. There was one that participated in some illegal activities in other countries. And I don't know, somehow being 12 in the nut house already for 6 months, you're literally the craziest person I've ever known.
Yay!
This is a common discussion, I think. Like, I know we're completely different levels of crazy, but in your opinion, I'm crazier than you.
Well, of course.
I mean, that's like, I don't even know how to compare it. That's like,
There's Lola.
hey, let me see if I have the right button.
Who's that? Is that Leroy? She
Doug,
hears
get
it.
down.
She hears it.
So in what way am I crazier than you?
You really obsess over things like to the T. That and you have road rage, like that's really bad.
I think
And
everybody does.
I don't. And I'm from Massachusetts.
But if you're going to call me crazier than you need to give some examples. You need to back it up.
Okay. So when
Wait, you're like the Queen Elizabeth of craziness, and you're trying to say that I am the king, and that's impossible because the way I look at it, I'm just a little peasant person. My craziness does not compare to you. How the hell are you? You got examples that I'm crazy? What I want to hear about this because how am I crazy?
Well, I mean, you don't do this anymore, but you used to do push-ups on the side of the road every time you got mad about something or thought about something.
Well, it kept me from hurting somebody. What's wrong with that?
It's a little crazy. Imagine you being in a passenger, like in a car, looking at somebody doing push-ups on the side of the road.
I would think they're into fitness.
Well, let's see.
Okay.
What else?
Well, I was a lot angrier back then than
you were. You have come a long way.
But see, I don't think I'm that crazy. Obviously, you can't give examples.
Well, I haven't had time to think about it, really.
You say I obsess over stuff, which I do.
You obsess over things. You have like weird rituals and stuff. Like you can't sleep outside of the house. And
I hope James sees that. He stops
yeah.
asking
Oh
me where
yeah.
to
Except
go.
for James's house. That's a feat. You should be really proud for being able to do that.
Yes, I don't like sleeping anywhere, but I think lots of people don't like sleeping in a weird place. Like,
well, I don't like sleeping in weird places, but like,
okay, sleeping any place.
Like, I don't mind it.
Well, when I used to travel for work and art stuff, I had no problem sleeping in other places because I had tons of Quaaludes, and that would help.
Yeah.
Like going somewhere sober, it's like the first night in jail. It's so awkward, but you're pumped up with adrenaline and usually still on drugs.
Yeah.
So you can kind of ease into it. If I have the choice to be sober and choose where I sleep, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to travel anywhere. I have no desire to go to any new places. I don't want to sleep anywhere except my bed. And if I don't do that, things are going to get crazy. So, all right, that might be one example. But I obsess over stuff. Me obsessing over stuff gets things done. Because if I didn't...
You have crazy OCD, though. Like, your rituals. And, if something doesn't happen, if something changes in your ritual in the morning, it ruins your whole day.
Okay, I think that's normal.
That's not normal.
I think, doesn't everybody have,
there's a difference between ritual and routine.
I don't see it that way, but okay. You're not presenting a convincing case to the jury that I'm crazier than you. I might.
Well, when you get angry, you shake really bad and you you do really bad.
Yeah, because I'm trying not to hit somebody.
I know. Well, it's still weird.
Remember, I used to.
Oh, yeah.
When I would flip out.
That in a long time.
Well, that's progress. When I used to flip out, I'd have to put my hands above my head so I wouldn't punch things. And it also kind of made me remember I'm going to be in handcuffs soon.
Yeah.
If I don't try to calm down. So yeah, I think.
But
I don't think I'm crazy.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, I can't give a specific examples. I guess that I'm not giving you what you're looking for. So I'm sorry, I can't do that. I have to think about it and get back to you.
All right. Well, you do know me better than anybody else, so I know I'm crazy. If you think I'm crazy, that's fine. I know it's true. I know most people could not survive a day inside my head and the things that go on. Like,
yeah,
or
your life in general. You're crazy, man. Like, you're always going. You work your ass off, and then you do this kind of thing, and you also do meetings and sponsor and, bring people to the store. And
Yeah, I do that. But that's being crazy busy also keeps me from being crazy in bad ways.
yes,
And
it does.
that's
It
the
does.
thing, because when I'm doing bad stuff, it's 24/7 bad stuff. And I'm in deep. Like, I'm not just buying drugs, I'm buying and selling and using, and like it's all got to go on at once.
Yeah.
The way I am today, never stopping, doing 10 things at once, that's what it was like, only with drugs and vandalism
Yeah.
and shoplifting and, all the good stuff in life. But since I don't get to do it anymore, I have to stay occupied. So, an important part of recovery is doing service work.
Yes.
And I think you play an important role, because anything I do is basically because you kept me from going to jail. Or everything I do, you kept me from doing something bad. There's nobody else I've ever come across who can stop me from walking off a ledge like you can. And you are 100% my counselor, and that's why
Yes.
you're still around. And that's why if we're fighting or in the nut house, everybody suffers, because I don't get my counseling session. I don't know. I don't know what it is. You're just very good at listening to me and telling me the things I need to hear, and I actually listen to them sometimes. And that's an important part. But you also are a good counselor for a friend of yours.
Yes.
Who's currently about to get knee deep in the junkie pre-recovery world.
Oh boy.
You don't want to talk about her?
That.
Well, but it's you're kind of doing service work to somebody before they know they need it, because
yes,
this person is about to let somebody into their life that has done the things I've done, and they're going to get screwed. And you can share your experience, strength, and hope with them and say, don't do this. And they're going to do it anyway and burn their life to the ground. But you were still there to counsel them and let them know this is going to end bad.
Right. Well, this person also has been in my life for 40 odd years. So, and I'm
You guys rode the crazy train together.
Yes, we did.
So besides counseling me, you kind of keep me motivated to do what my master plan is, which is to be able to talk.
I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah, but you kind of have to be. Like, you
No,
don't
I
have a
don't.
choice.
No, I don't.
Well, yes, you are my biggest supporter. And when I came up with this idea 11 months ago, you tell me I should do it, but things never work the way I planned. That's another thing why I'm crazy, because things never go the way I planned. But what I would like to do is to get the people I know that have recovered and have them tell their story, so other crazies can be like, oh, wow, that person did it too. If some girl out there is like, I've been to the nut house twice, there's no hope for me, they can look at you, who's been there 100 times, right? Has a frequent flyer card going to the nut house, and say, wow, it actually worked for her. And part of the plan was to make these videos to try to explain to people the things that do not work, but people do not listen.
Yes.
And every day I've been going to these meetings doing service work for 4 years, going to the same halfway house, saying the same thing to people. Don't get into relationships. Don't leave this halfway house before you work your steps. Get a sponsor, and over and over and over again.
Nobody ever told me not to do that. It was never, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew you weren't supposed to get in a relationship for the first year, but nobody ever pushed that down my throat, No
one ever pushed, get a sponsor, work the steps down your throat?
No, nobody pushed, don't get into a relationship down my throat.
Oh, well, I'd say that's the number one offender of people we know that burn 100%. Their lives down. I mean, a lot of people we know have relapsed with drugs and alcohol, but it normally starts with a girl.
Yeah.
Or a guy. We know girls that did it with guys and burned their lives down.
Yeah.
But it's like the most common thing that happens, and everybody thinks they're the ones that are going to be different. That's, as the big book says, the great obsession of every alcoholic is to drink like a normal person.
Yeah.
The great obsession of every recovering addict is to have a healthy relationship that'll work out and, have a white picket fence in a marriage. Instead, it's restraining orders in jail.
Yep.
So some could look at us and be like, wow, it worked for them, but it didn't.
Yeah, but it's been
There's
not
some
the greatest girlfriend.
Very, very dark time. I have seen some shit because of dealing with you and the things that we've done. And one thing, when I got into this, the first year and a half, life was about not drinking and doing drugs. That's it. Life was dramatically better, and I was able to get a license and get a car, and I didn't mind living in the halfway house. The other one I went to, like, life was good, but my focus wasn't on the steps and all that stuff. My focus was more on just being alive and you. And then you fell off the wagon, and it wasn't something that happened out of nowhere. You know, it was gradually progressed. And looking back, you can see it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But that was the most valuable lesson I've ever learned my entire life, because I've had other friends relapse, I've had friends pass away. I've been through everything. But when you did it, it affected me in a way that I can't explain. I was so hurt and so betrayed, but at the same time, sad and upset. And like when that happened, I realized, shit, this is what I've put my mother
What
through.
they were talking about.
This is what I put my sister through. And like I started to see things in a different light. It was a valuable lesson, and it absolutely sucked. And it took a while to get through, but just that is one of the things that people get in relationships, and their significant other becomes their higher power. And then when they get messed up, now your higher power is passed out in the Suburban, puking in the sink. And now how's your life going to be when your higher power is gone? And that's what happens to everybody in these relationships. And this is why I stress not hooking up with these other fellow garbage people, because everybody is 1 second away from getting high, getting drunk, and burning it down.
Yeah. It's usually, and you know, we were very fortunate in that this didn't happen to us, but usually when one goes down, the other goes with it. And if that had been the case, we'd probably both be dead. You got to give yourself a lot of credit for staying.
That was the moment that I had said over and over again, I'm never going to get high. I'm never going to do this. And, you know, I mean it. But after that happened, I really meant it. Like, it hurt so much. And I was calling my mom and crying because, you know, I thought I was going to have you put down at a farm out in the country. But it also, I was talking to her like, things are different. I'm never going to do this again. I can't. Oh my God. Now I get it. And I had talked to your mom, and we had the same conversation. She's been through it 40 years. So she was like, yeah. But it was definitely a turning point. And then you got out and you went back and you did nothing again. And we made the rookie mistake of every relationship in recovery and got a place, and you moved in.
Yeah, we moved in together.
Things got worse progressively, and it was, luckily, I had hope for you, and I cared about you. So it wasn't at the point of how much I hated my wife, but I was definitely thinking of smothering you in your sleep. Like, over and over again. But luckily, you had to go back to the nut house.
Yeah.
And that saved me. And I think it lasted a month, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. A month in the free world. And that was it. That was enough. Yep. And you ended up going somewhere else. And actually, you got a sponsor and worked your steps. And you made it a very, very long time. One thing I know about you is you are a real alcoholic.
Yes.
And to see the insanity of an alcoholic, I am too, but I don't like alcohol. So it doesn't tempt me, and I don't think about it. But to see a real alcoholic like you and my ex-roommate, like when people try to explain the insanity of an alcoholic mind, they think like, oh, they do something over and over again. They don't learn their lesson. But it's so much more than that. Like, it's literal insanity that you can spend a year working on yourself, being sober, doing all this stuff to make yourself better. And your head literally tells you, you can drink now, it'll be okay.
Yes. And, you know, it's one of those things that I can't obviously explain. It's the obsession. But I always think when I relapse, it's always like, oh, it'll just happen this way. I'll just do it one night and see what happens. You know? Not a good plan.
But that's just how simple it is. Everybody tells themselves this time is going to be different. Well, I say they tell themselves, but it's really your actual brain saying this will be okay. That
it's
weird
a fight.
Yeah, voice in your head that says like, don't touch the oven, it's hot. That weird voice that says, don't step into the street, you're going to get hit by a car. That same voice tells you, this time you can do it just once. This time nobody will know. This time will be okay. And people do it over and over again. And it's just another hard lesson to learn because I'm around them all the time. But when you're close to someone and it happens, it just hits different. And it has made me really more compassionate in a way to people that screw up, because it's, you know, they call it a disease for a reason. Our brains are broken. Like, they will try to kill us. Tell
Yes.
us while telling us it's going to be okay. Our brains are trying to kill it.
Well, I really want to know what side my brain's on. Is it on my side or that side? And it really messes with me sometimes because I don't know what side my brain's really on. Like, I know I want to not do that or not drink, but my brain doesn't want me to do that. My brain wants me to drink. So why is there a constant struggle?
Well, because you were blessed to be born as an alcoholic and a severely crazy one at that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But see, you were crazy before the alcohol.
I was.
I think that's rare.
I have mental health issues. I have major depressive disorder and, anxiety and
It's just you hadn't met me yet. Like, that's all it was. You're just waiting for me to come along.
Of course, that's the case. I just hadn't met the love of my life.
Well, you're laughing now, aren't you? You're not
I know I am.
in a padded room grabbing nurses in the pants. Although you're crazy, I got lucky. And the thing is that I think it helps prove how crazy I am because 5 years later, I'm still talking to somebody as crazy as you. But what I was thinking of is my first day at Artesian, the girl doing the intake. I was just so happy to be out of jail. And then I took the drug test and I passed. That was the first time I ever took a drug test for real and passed, I think. Like,
oh, wow.
All my ones on drug probation in Palm Beach, I cheated every time, or I was on things they didn't test for. So I was proud. Like, I even said, like, can I send this cup to my mom? She won't believe it. And the girl at Artesian was like telling me, keep doing good. She told me some of the rules. And then she told me there's 4 houses in the back and those are for the girls. Do not ever go there. And each and every one of those girls is crazier than you. So stay away. I thought that was funny. I was like, yeah, I get it. What are you looking at?
My dog is eating the top of my water bottle.
So she said each one of those girls is crazier than you. And I thought it was funny, but I didn't really believe it. But you definitely proved the point, just like how crazy the girls are. And it's deceiving because you don't look like a nut job. Like, you don't look like the person who would be standing on the side of the road in a cowboy hat yelling at traffic like somebody we know. It's very deceiving. But we have seen a large group of crazy people. And
oh, yeah.
Without saying names, explain some of the shades of crazy you saw when you were over there.
Well, there was one girl that would move everything around every couple of hours and out in the courtyard type deal where the 4 houses of the women were. There was a girl who came in and we thought she was on something the whole time because she would go outside and start moving big rocks and, big bird feeders and all these like concrete things. And she would just move them around the yard and it would happen every couple of hours. And we thought she was being tested, but she was abusing her gabapentin. So, which is not uncommon in halfway houses. But there was another girl who constantly talked. Tony knows her. She 5 o'clock in the morning, she would ask me questions and, luckily I'm a morning person, and I would just put up with it, but it was so annoying. She was constantly talking and asking questions, and she was just a level of nut that I couldn't even see. It was insanity. Those 2 people stand out. But there was this one girl who she came back after getting high on meth, and she came back to the halfway house and she was like, what kind of a halfway house doesn't let you get high? Okay. And that same girl put dishwashing soap in the dishwasher.
Wait, dishwashing?
Dish soap, like dish soap, like
Yeah.
Dawn. She put that in the dishwasher, and you can't do that. Bubbles were everywhere. There were bubbles all throughout the kitchen into the bedroom.
So I specifically remember a girl, I don't know if you were at the meeting or not, but she started talking about how the government put rods in her back and they were listening to her.
Oh.
And there was a gentleman who used to bring a meeting in on Thursday nights. He was always a little questionable, but he fell in love with this girl. Oh my God. He wouldn't stop talking to her, and he was an older man, but he was there listening to every word of her rant. And she's talking about how she solved the energy crisis because she knows how to make electricity out of water, and stuff she was saying, if it was true, was pretty impressive. But the government listens to her and all this stuff. And I remember telling somebody, this bitch is crazy. She's good at monitoring. She's going to, what she's going to do.
She had a
And-
knife collection.
Oh, really?
Yes, she had a knife collection. She showed her roommate, and her roommate decided to narc on her.
Didn't she also light things on fire?
She did outside in the courtyard.
So that girl, a couple nights later, was front page news because she went
Yeah.
down to Palm Beach and was partying with some guy, and she did exactly what I said she was going to do. She went, and now she's in prison the
Slit
rest
his
of her
throat.
life. Actually,
Yep.
she's in.
I was actually in the same house as her at one point.
Oh, you hung out with a murderer. That was
Yes.
great. Well, she wasn't then, but
Right.
you've actually probably hung out with a couple murderers. We both got very lucky because somehow, some weird way, God put all of these crazy people together that somehow form like the Avengers of crazy, but it all works out. Because we have the guy who's my lawyer, we have the old hippie guy,
Yep.
we have your ex-roommate. Everybody in my life started off as the same level of garbage person, like living in a halfway house on rock bottom. Yeah, some of them had stuff and a wife and things like that, but we all started off at that same absolutely broken stage. And because of this program, all of us 4 or 5 years later are still around and have their
Yeah.
shit together and are all contributing to life in different ways. And somehow we all mesh together. And, you know, I couldn't be here without the help from my friend Tony and my friend James. And at one time, my friend Bill and my other friend Ron, like they all know who they are. I can say their names. Like they all served a very important purpose at one time. And there's two ways it turns out. They either stayed sober and are still productive members of society, or they got drunk and destroyed everything. And the ones that got drunk definitely destroyed everything.
Yeah.
It's a very simple formula to follow in life. If you want to be around 5 years later, you need to go get that stupid sponsor and you need to go work those stupid
Yes.
steps, because that's what helps take the craziness and put it in
channel
another.
it.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Put it in another direction. I have learned to use my craziness for good, and you're one of the only people that knows just how crazy my craziness was when it was used for illegal things. You know, not a lot of people know about that. But for me to switch it up from what I used to do to what I do today, that's what this program is about. It's about working those steps to take all that negative energy and turn it to positive energy. And all our friends have done that too. And the friends that didn't, most of them aren't here anymore.
Yeah.
My first roommate living at that halfway house came back one day and he took his shirt off and his back looked like he was attacked by a Wolverine. Just a bloody mess of scratches. My first thought was maybe he ran from the cops and hopped over a fence, because those fences cut you up sometimes. That's what it looked like he had crawled through barbed wire. And he was like, no, I just got back on a date with that girl.
I know her.
That's how crazy the people in halfway houses are. And you said the thing about what kind of halfway house can you not get high in? There's unfortunately a lot of them that you can. You know, as long as you're paying rent, you can sometimes take medication. Sometimes they look the other way for drug tests. Like, I know I got very lucky because I got in a place that wouldn't tolerate that.
Yeah, and I think I got lucky too, because being in that halfway house, I don't ever really, because of the people that I had to come in contact with, I never want to go back. And even though I have slipped up a couple of times, the basic principles are still there, you know, in my head. And, you know, just to keep going to meetings and keep going, you know, get a sponsor and work the steps. And there's a lot of other things that you can do to help yourself stay sober, like going to the gym, drinking lots of water, you know, eating right, and stuff like that. It's, you know, I think if you take the whole realm of everything and balance it out, like with healthy lifestyle, healthy mind, you know, then it helps a lot in the recovery process as well.
It's actually true, because I seen it happen with you. When
Yeah.
your mind wasn't healthy, your body became
No.
unhealthy. And anyone who knows us knows together we've lost like what, 400 or 500 pounds.
Yeah. And we got really fat together, you know, we really
Oh,
did.
it's so cute. Look at these two fatties.
We should do before and after pics.
I wasn't going to edit this, but maybe I'll have to. Yes.
No.
Those are some dark times. But I mean,
Yes.
you raise a valid point. Life has gotten more enjoyable when not popping out of my shirts. And life definitely has become better being healthy, but it's so easy to be unhealthy at the halfway house, especially when you're poor and all you can afford is noodles and peanut butter and jelly and garbage, like, because you don't have time to cook real. I know some people do, but I
Yeah,
didn't.
I did, and I chose not to, you know? So it's a choice. And I think that a lot of people that, you know, enter into sobriety you know, they switch their addictions from drugs and alcohol to food. You know, you see a lot of people in sobriety gain a lot of weight, and we just took it to the extreme. But,
No,
you
that's
know,
what alcoholics do. You take
yes.
things to the
So I think it's really unhealthy to live that way, and to realize that, you know, you need to feed your body the way that you feed your mind.
but those breakfast burritos from Walmart are so good.
French toast, the French toast sticks you used to eat all the time.
I remember when COVID started, I ate 2 boxes of them one morning.
You got so sick.
As we were watching the COVID news on TV, because we were officially in lockdown, and the first day or two we couldn't leave, and I ate all that French toast and then had to get my friend James to bring me to Walmart to get more French toast. And he looks like a Chinese lab worker with rubber gloves and a mask and squirting hand sanitizer on it. And he was the most cautious COVID person I knew, and he's had it like 14 times.
Oh my gosh.
Which is funny because I never cared. And I didn't get it for years. Learning, my friend sits back and watches other people make mistakes so he doesn't have to. And that was one of the greatest things he tries to teach people when I bring him to speak, is to watch what your friends do. Watch all the dumb things they do. Watch all the bad things they do. You watch them get into that relationship. You watch them, you know, think they can just drink. You watch them take too many pills they're not supposed to. And watch how bad it turns out every time. And when you see that, you don't have to make those same mistakes. Like, I don't have to relapse and just drink alcohol to know it doesn't work. I've seen enough people do it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't have to let some woman move into my house to ruin my life, but I know that because I did it. And that person would. I still can't think of the thing I wanted to say.
Well, you think for a second.
I really need to learn how to work those things into normal conversations. Like,
Yes, you do. You need to stop doing this.
I got a lot of stuff to look at.
I know, but when you make the noises like the dog barking and the people laughing, you can tell you're doing. Yeah, see?
What? I didn't do anything.
You did too. I saw you.
No, I didn't. I was just wondering, you want to party? All right, I'll learn eventually to do it.
That was a little better.
Well, I thing is, I'm gonna have to move it over here. See,
Yes.
This is why I do this, because it's a learning process, and every little thing I make, I learn a different lesson. Now I know soundboard needs to be here.
Yes.
Maybe my shirt needs to be in view more. Maybe I need to clean my cabin because it looks filthy back here.
Nice
I'll learn
can.
how close to be. It's all a learning process, and you've been there from the beginning to try to help me because you know what my dream is, to be able to yell about the things I like to yell about and do it productively with somebody. But those things in my life never happen that way, because I can plan something for 24 hours, and then when it's time to happen, it all goes to shit. But some guy told me once, after you speak, there's 3 different speeches. There's the speech you planned on saying, there's the speech you thought about on the ride home, and then there's this speech that God let have happen. So you just need to say, fuck it. And whatever comes out, comes out. But speaking of God, when I first met you, I don't really think you were too into believing in God. And I used to tell you how I prayed all the time and it made a difference and how my life changed when I prayed for the first time. And you had actually told me once in a text message or something that you were jealous of my relationship with God. And then I talked about that at a meeting, and Brooklyn Joe was like, wow, bro, it's the best thing anyone can ever say about it. And it was true, but like these 2 specific things I always think about, because the first time ever we were going to the woods for something and you had been like sick all day. You have these weird issues where you used to have to drink water naked. But anyway, maybe we can get back to that. When I first met you, you couldn't eat, you couldn't drink. Everything was weird. You had to... Quickly, why was that?
It's a lap band. I had a lap band, and it was defective, kind of, and it moved, and it caused me not to be able to swallow anything. So I had to get it removed. which is another reason I got so fat.
But you used to tell me
I couldn't, like, anything that was around this section right here, like if I had a bra on, I couldn't, water would not go down. It would just sit there on top and it would just not go down. So I had to physically remove anything that was blocking it, and that included my clothes.
Having somebody tell you they have to get naked to drink water at the time was one of the craziest things I've ever heard. But now, all these years later, shit, that's nothing. But you had been having these really bad stomach issues all day, and you couldn't drink. You were losing it, and we were walking to the woods, and I said, God, just give us like 30 minutes, whatever the time frame was. I don't remember. And I prayed with you, and those problems went away, and they didn't start again to 29 minutes and 59 seconds later, whatever the time frame was that I prayed for. And when we were walking back, I had said something, and I was like, do you realize that God just did something for you? And you kind of thought about it a little. And I know you've eventually come to believe more. That's something I pray for all the time, pray for you to believe more. But there was a specific time when you were at your mom's house and you were going to meeting. And how far away were those meetings from your house, your mom's house?
Oh, I had to drive there. They were probably about 5 miles away.
I think it was like 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Well, yeah, but 5 miles in Florida with all the lights is 20 minutes.
Okay. I thought it was actually more than 20 minutes. But you were looking for a place to live.
I had gotten kicked out of Keith's house.
Okay.
And I was living with my mom I only had a certain amount of time.
And I kept telling you not to panic, pray about it more, pray about it like you've never prayed for anything in your life.
Yeah.
And what exactly happened then?
Well,
Oh, you also had a dog, and there was no places that would accept you because you had a dog.
Yeah. So one morning I was doing my morning search for a place to live, and I came across this new ad, and it was literally within walking distance to my meeting. And it was also within walking distance to a gym. And it was also within walking distance to a Winn-Dixie and a Circle K and all these things that I needed. And because I don't drive, I only had I think it was like a week left to live at my mom's house when this ad popped up. And it became my home. And so now I can walk to all these places because, again, I don't drive. Well, I don't have a car, but
don't look at me.
I'm not looking at you.
The point was that after
the praying work.
Yes. And it was, I think, the biggest example I have seen that you noticed that it worked.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Like the fact that it was literally a 7-minute walk to my meeting in the gym was just insanity, because I was wondering, because that's my meeting, I was wondering how I was going to be able to get there, and this place popped up.
And for people that don't understand Port St. Lucie, there's places everywhere, but there's places that are like an hour away still in Port St. Lucie.
Yeah,
from all the lights.
It's a really big city.
To get from one side to the other, and the place you live at now is literally on the same street as the community center where the meetings were. There, take that. Told you so.
You were right, as
always.
I
usually am to an extent. It's just,
I know, you kind of are.
I'll take credit for that. I kind of am. Because the things that I'm right about, they're not my ideas. They're just proven facts that come from the big book and things that God would want. To tell somebody like, hey, if you leave here with that girl and you stop going to your meetings, you're going to be shooting meth in a hotel in Atlanta. And when it happens, it's not so much that I was right. It's because God was saying, hey, don't do that, stupid. So like when I tell somebody, if you just shut up and sit back and pray about it, everything will work out. And then it works out. It's because it wasn't my idea. It's just a simple statement from God.
Ever since I met you and your relationship with God, and like you said, like how I was jealous of it, but ever since I met you, my relationship with God has definitely gotten stronger. And I don't necessarily believe that it's because of you. I just think, because I am responsible for making my own decisions with that. But I think that you definitely had a part of it, seeing these things happen, because when you do good things come, and if you pray about it and you keep doing good, things are going to happen. That's just what happens. You don't have any power over it. All you can do is pray about it.
Almost like everything in Acceptance is the Answer on page 418 comes completely true and makes complete sense. And it should be at the front of the book, because everything you just said, I don't take credit for you believing in God. God takes credit because God has done for me what I could not do for myself over and over and over again. And every time you see me in a potentially bad situation, it always turns out good the way it's supposed to when I just sit back and shut up
Yeah.
and let God do his work. And you've seen me from one disaster after another, and somehow they always end up exactly where I need to be. So I hope that this brief conversation gives some insight to everybody who has heard of the redhead, but has maybe not glimpsed into her mind. I hope that fellow crazy people out there can look at you and say, well, if she can do it,
Yeah.
I definitely can, because I've never drank hairspray in a nut house on a 6-month stay before I was legally able to drive. Like, that's insane.
Yep.
And if you can have a nice life in a nice quiet house with a dog and walking distance from your meeting just by believing in God, I think anybody can. And you're a shining example of what young ladies should strive to be.
Okay. Sure, whatever you say there, Leroy.
All right, I think that's beautiful. And this is when that thing starts in my head. All right. It's going. The stuff you talked about, it's cranking up. It's revving up. My OCD, everything, it's going. Now I'm pumped. Is this the longest you've like sat still and like?
Yeah, I'm not sitting still. I have my dog.
Oh, well,
That's what I've been doing with my arms is I've been petting her because she won't shut up unless I'm petting her.
No, I mean, you sitting down for an hour and 13 minutes and just concentrating on one thing. And like, I'm shocked after 15 minutes, you weren't like,
okay, that's enough. I want to go. This is stupid. I'm not going to sit here and talk to you. Screw you and the recovery idiot. You guys suck.
all right, well, thank you for participating.
All right.
Oh, there she is.
You better not post this, Leroy. I will tackle you and kill you.
Look like a weird cello.
I'm not going to be on it, right?
No, he won't put you on it if you don't
Better
want to
not.
be on it.
The
Better
more
not.
you say not to, the more
just say don't worry about it.
I'm turning it off. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for watching The Recovery Idiot. Please like and subscribe and visit therecoveryidiot.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Naked pictures are always welcomed. And if your roommate has a knife collection, you should probably call the police.